Welcome to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battle. It's your boy Daddymac. Today we are up against Rock and Roll new Wi-Fi battle. Sorry I have been MIA. I've actually been dealing with a couple of personal things. I got sick. My daughter got sick. It was just not a good time. Anyways, we are back with Wi-Fi battles. Things are going to look a little different this week, and we'll kind of dive into that in a little bit. Actually doing things a little bit different today because I pre-recorded this Wi-Fi battle. I forgot to hit the on button on my microphone, and my content's recorded without any audio. So that's why we're doing things a little bit differently. We've done a battle like this before where we're just kind of commentating on the battle, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I do not remember anything as far as this Wi-Fi battle goes. So I'm going to be kind of surprised. I'm going to commentate as it goes. Rock, of course, is bringing a cool team. We'll dive into that in just a moment. But nevertheless, if you're new to the Wi-Fi, if you're new to this channel, you're going to want to subscribe for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battles. Comment down below on your thoughts on the battles. Subscribe. Do all of that jazz because you're not going to want to miss out. So here, my opponent does decide to go for the fortress, and actually I kind of remember this battle, so I actually decided to go into the Corviknight first just in case this thing wanted to, you know, hit me with some Stealth Rock and Spike shenanigans and maybe try to hit me with an explosion afterwards. So my opponent thought that they were going to be good and you know, come into the Osmium and kind of do shenanigans, which is not going to happen. Absolutely not. So here we're kind of thinking, we're like, okay, my opponent is more than likely going to hit me with a Stealth Rock or something like that. So I don't remember what I clicked here. I think I clicked Body Press. I really felt comfortable going into this thing, pause, and kind of doing that thing. So yeah, we hit the Body Press. This thing actually has a Rocky Helmet. So and I'm like, okay, that's kind of unfortunate for me. But it hits me with the Rapid Spin for some reason. Trying to get its speed up makes zero sense to me. Unfortunately for my opponent, they actually get hit with the Rocky Helmet as well. So I'm like, you know what? That's actually an interesting play. I'm going to go ahead and just Body Press again. Worst case scenario, I can Roost later on. So we're going to go ahead and basically repeat the same process. My opponent is going to go for a Rapid Spin again. And I have no clue as to what my opponent's strategy is. So here I'm like, okay, if you want to keep hitting me with a Rapid Spin, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and actually Roost here because I've taken enough damage from the Rocky Helmet. I don't want to take any more damage. I'm going to lose my flying typing, and then, you know, you don't hit me with the Rapid Spin, you totally can. Surprisingly, we both switch things up on turn 3. I go for the Roost, my opponent decides to go for the Curse, and I'm like, okay, that is actually pretty interesting. So I'm like, all right, this thing is probably going to try to Rapid Spin me or hit me with an explosion. We're not playing any of those shenanigans. So I go into the Dragapult, and now that I remember, Dragapult is actually super crucial in this Wi-Fi battle. I keep looking down because I keep getting text messages. Put my phone on Do Not Disturb, please. We'll just leave it right there. But anyways, my opponent does decide to go for a Curse again, and I'm like, all right, I am sitting beautifully well. I was contemplating the Draco Meteor, but I'm like, Flamethrower is basically just gonna do everything I want Dragapult to do, because if I'm not mistaken, my opponent had a Fairy type Pokemon in the background. Regardless of the matter, I didn't want to deal with the -2, and sure thing, my opponent does go for the Fairy type Pokemon in the back, which is Tinkaton. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. I can Flamethrower you. I'm Choice Specs, and unbeknownst to me, this Tinkaton is going to go ahead and live this. And I'm like, yo, what? I don't know if my opponent was really predicting a switch here, but they go for a Swords Dance, and I'm like, okay, I clearly outspeed you. You are not doing anything to my Dragapult. So Tinkaton can kiss that hammer goodbye, and I go down from there. So Dragapult is doing some pretty decent damage to my opponent's team already. I don't know. If I were my opponent, I would have just hit the Fairy type attack and call it a day. But my opponent goes into the Honchkrow, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to take a Sucker Punch here, so I'm going to go ahead and just swap out. I believe if I am correct, I swap out into the Corviknight. The reason behind that is because I can Body Press. I think at one point I might go Glamora too. I'm trying to remember what I was kind of thinking here, but like logically speaking, I'm like, I should probably go into the Corviknight and Body Press. I mean, I got the Rocky Helmet, I got all of that shenanigans in case I want to U-turn, things of that nature. And sure enough, actually looking at the screen, I do go into the Corviknight. So yeah, I'm kind of predicting a Sucker Punch here. I don't know much as to what this thing wants to do. I was a little bit hesitant to go into the Corviknight because of the Nasty plot, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You decide to go into the Sucker Punch. That gives me all the information I need. So I'm going to go ahead and body press again. This Corviknight is just sitting on everybody. So my opponent hits me with the Acrobatics. This is perfect for me because I resist this and I got the Rocky Helmet. And I'm like, you know what? You can try that shenanigans again. It's not going to work. I'm going to body press you. You can go down to Acrobatics and Rocky Helmet if that's what you want to do. So my opponent does withdraw, which is a smart move. They go into the Mudstell. Mudstell has the stamina ability. Beautiful shiny, by the way. So it kind of takes this as well as I could imagine. And by the way, it's a crit. It might have mattered a little bit. I mean, Mudstell is a pretty bulky Pokemon. Yeah, so here I'm like, okay, I do not want to go in. I don't want to keep Corviknight and keep body pressing here. So part of me wants to go into the Ogerpon, maybe hit it with an Ivy Cudgel. Part of me also wanted to go into the Glimmora and start hitting it with special attacks. And then also part of me wanted to go into the Dragapult, but I was afraid of this thing being Assault Vest. So I'm kind of deciding what I want to do here. And I think what I ultimately end up doing is I go into the Glimmora. And the idea behind this is I can set up the toxic debris spikes, the toxic spikes. And I can set up my own Stealth Rock and things of that nature. So Mudstell does go for the Stealth Rock, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of unfortunate because my plan kind of backfires here. Because if I do set up like not sticky whip, but toxic debris, toxic spikes, or if I set up a Stealth Rock of my own, I might either have to Mortal Spin and get rid of them and give this thing a free stamina, or I have to go into the Corviknight and basically this Glimmora does nothing. My opponent does go Iron Defense, and I'm like, yo, that is kind of crazy. You're probably running Body Press. So here I'm like, all right, Glimmora can go down if my opponent wants to take Glimmora down. I am Focus Sash, and I'm just simply gonna Mortal Spin here. The idea behind this is I can get some poison damage, some chip damage on this thing, and kind of go from there. I also, you know, get rid of the Stealth Rocks as well. So stamina does trigger. This is basically a +4 Mudstell. So this thing is looking extra bulky, and with an Iron Defense, this thing is at +6. It's got max defense, so his defense can't go up any higher than what it already is. And I'm like, okay, well, thankfully Glimmora is a special attacker. I was gonna go into the Dragapult. Actually, I do go into the Dragapult, predicting the Body Press. Eventually I go back into the Glimmora, if I'm not mistaken, at some point in the battle. But here I go into the Dragapult, predicting the Body Press, and sure enough, my opponent does decide to hit me with that. It was actually a perfect switch in because I got rid of the Stealth Rock, and worst case scenario, this thing does hit me with a Body Press. There is nothing it could do. So I am actually pretty free to go into the Draco Meteor. And what happens in this channel, this is what we do best, we miss Draco Meteor. So Heavy Slam does a pretty good amount of damage on my Dragapult, and surprisingly to me, Dragapult was able to live that. So I was like, okay, that is amazing. I thought I was gonna go down to something because Dragapult is frail. So I hit the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor is absolutely beautiful here. Our special attack does fall, but the idea here is to ultimately switch out after dropping a Draco. I'm technically -1 because we are Spectre Dragapult. So Mudstell is looking as scary as it was looking, does go down here. I'm ultimately just going to, my plan was to switch out, but Honchkrow kind of threw things out of proportion to me, and I'm like, okay, Honchkrow is actually a very interesting Pokemon to come out into. So I'm like, okay, I'm simply going to Draco Meteor, get rid of this Honchkrow. There's absolutely nothing that this Honchkrow wants to do to us. So kind of go from there. So I hit this Draco Meteor. Lo and behold, to me, the Honchkrow does go down. I was actually pretty surprised. You know, I shouldn't be considering its HP. But I was like, okay, that worked. I mean, I know I'm -1, but sometimes I feel like Dragapult doesn't hit as hard after dropping a Draco, even when Spec. So I'm like, okay, that is perfect. Arboliva does come out here, and I'm like, all right, I don't really like the switch for me. So I'm gonna go out into Glimmora. This thing typically carries Strength Sap. It can carry Leech Seed. It can carry some Grass Slap attacks. Outside of those two things, I don't know what else it typically carries. So I go out into the Glimmora for, you know, just safekeeping. And my opponent hits me with an Earth Power, and I'm like, yo, where did this come from? That is the last attack that I was actually expecting here. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go Mortal Spin. I can't set up my Toxic Debris, but I can at least get some poison damage. on this bad boy. And my opponent does have the seed power, so basically my poison damage is null. And I'm like, all right, that was basically a waste. I don't know what I was expecting from this Arboliva. It honestly caught me off guard, and even now I'm still like, all right, that was kind of random for me. Now, this battle gets a little bit more interesting. I know it seems super one-sided right now, and it kind of is. I mean, I'm leading the Wi-Fi battle, but this Wi-Fi battle gets a little bit more interesting in just a moment. So do not click away from it. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you leave a like. So my opponent does have the Chesnaught, and they have the Arboliva. So I'm completely dominating this battle, and I'm like, all right, my safest bet is to just flamethrower. My opponent's Chesnaught is weak to this, and they live a flamethrower. They live a Specs flamethrower. This is how bulky Arboliva is. This Pokemon is actually pretty good. I was looking at his stats, and it's pretty bulky when it comes to special attack or special defense. I mean, it can probably run Assault Vest. It could probably be just physically, especially defensive, and do what it's got to do. So I'm like, all right, I feel like I got a low roll, so I'm gonna go ahead and flamethrower again, and this time it actually knocks it out. So that was kind of unfortunate for me, because now I got strength sapped, and not that it matters because I am Specs Dragapult, but that was still a little annoying for me. So yeah, that was like just, I don't know, shenanigans. I'm like, all right, Chesnaught comes out. I should be able to just wrap this up with a flamethrower. My opponent terrestrializes this, and I completely forget about the terrestrialization. So he terrestrializes, goes into the Terra Water Chesnaught, and I'm like, all right, this is actually kind of legit. I like this Chesnaught. I go for a flamethrower. This Pokemon, as bulky as it is going to take the heck out of this. Hits me with the belly drum, and I'm like, yo, all right, you're at low HP. I should be able to take you down. This thing has got the citrus berry. And I'm like, all of a sudden, this Wi-Fi battle just got way more interesting. I absolutely have to swap out, because Dragapult is still pretty important. I should be able to outspeed this thing and come back later. I was honestly just afraid of a Drain Punch, and then this thing getting all of its HP back. So I'm like, I'm gonna go out into the Corviknight. Corviknight is my physical wall. I go out into the Corviknight. My opponent hits me with the Grassy Glide, and I'm like, okay, that is actually kind of lit. Rocky Helmet does its thing for me. And I'm like, all right, I should be able to kind of get rid of this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and just body press. And Chesnaught lives. I lose my, I don't lose, so it doesn't even matter. He hits me with the Drain Punch and just completely obliterates my Corviknight. Mind you, this is fully invested HP, fully invested defense Corviknight, and I'm like, yo, I just went down to a Drain Punch. This thing is probably gonna knock me out. This is before I did my research, okay? I thought this Chesnaught had Mach Punch. I was like, yo, I'm gonna get absolutely cooked by a Chesnaught. So I go out into the Dragapult. I'm like, all right, Draco Meteor, it's gonna knock it out. My opponent hits me with the Grassy Glide, knocks me out, and I'm like, yo, what is going on here? I completely choked because I completely forgot that this thing showed me it had Grassy Glide, and the grassy terrain is up, so it gets priority. And I'm like, yo, I'm completely cooked. I gotta do something here. Boys, I'm scared to go out into the King Gambit because of the Drain Punch. So I'm like, I'm gonna go out into Ogre Pond, because Mienshao is actually pretty frail as frail as it is. And I'm like, I'm gonna Power Whip. If I miss, this is basically GG's for me. So I go out into the Ogre Pond, I go out into the Power Whip, and my opponent's basically like, should I Grassy Glide or should I hit it with something else? He probably knows that he's cooked. So yeah, we're kind of waiting a little bit. I hit him with the Power Whip. He probably was gonna hit me with the Drain Punch or something like that. I ran Calcs. The Grassy Glide would not have knocked me out even at +6. So his best attack was to probably hit me with the Drain Punch and hope that I missed a Power Herb. So this battle was actually a little bit scarier than it needed to be, and a little bit closer than it needed to be, just because I completely forgot about the grassy terrain. So yeah, that's that Wi-Fi battle. It was actually pretty fun. It was pretty one-sided, but that Chesnaught really caught me off guard. So that's it for this Wi-Fi battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know things are looking a little bit different right now because, you know, I'm a bonehead and I forgot to hit the record button or turn off the mute button on my microphone. So, yeah, that's, you live and you learn. I've done it. This is the second time, and the next Wi-Fi battle is going to be the same thing. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Things are going to look different this week. I have about 40 seconds. So basically we're just going to do 2 Wi-Fi battles, maybe 3 Wi-Fi battles. and then one other random video. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this. It's your boy Daddymac. Subscribe for more Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battles. We'll see you guys on the next one.